Now is the season to have our noses well and truly rubbed in how the powerful see their place in the world, and, which matters most, how they see our place in that world. I say the puppeticians and their masters have set themselves on high, while we are supposed quietly to come to terms with the fact we are, in their eyes, the lowest of the low. Democracy be damned. Not only do our opinions not matter, they're likely to land us in jail if we voice them. And if you have any spoken loyalty to poor old battered Britain, woe betide you. Britain is a controlled demolition project, and if you don't like it, then too bad. The old notions of the people of Britain being able to count on political parties dedicated to defending them against the predatory excesses of the rich, the vampiric big corporations, the infinitely greedy money men, those outmoded fancies have been drowned before our eyes like a litter of kittens tied in a sack with a breeze block and flung in a river. The message is that the days of democracy are gone, that there's a new sheriff in town, and, by the way, he especially enjoys letting a rich man, richer than him anyway, buy him pretty things and pretty things for his wife. We can imagine Prime Minister Keir Starmer leading a Labour government pledged to inflict more austerity on the general population, fresh from the decision to deny the cold weather allowance to millions of pensioners, rubbing his hands together while millionaire Labour donor Lord Ali lavished tens of thousands of pounds of designer stuff on him and his wife, Lady Victoria. It's no secret. Nothing meaningful will come of outrage from observers. Empty words came from Number 10 about how Starmer thought he was following the rules, but oops, something went astray, like tens of thousands of pounds worth of freebies he thought not to mention. I don't think for a minute it was any kind of oversight. I say such moves are part of broadcasting to us that the Labour Party of Britain is now blissfully wedded to the rich. Socialists used to shout, "Eat the rich." Now it's, "I'd like to eat what you're eating." Orwell said socialists don't give a damn about the poor, they just hate the rich. Socialists still don't give a damn about the poor, but now they make no secret about loving the rich instead, wanting to be the rich. Starmer and his ilk love being pampered, flying in private jets and such, and more to the point, they want you to know that that's just how they roll. Starmer's long since let it be known he prefers the company of Davos man, Davos and the World Economic Forum, nexus of the world's richest people, that he'd rather be there than in Westminster. That's just how it is now, so suck it up, serfs. The pantomime is choreographed to infuriate and to put us firmly in our place. Starmer's Labour cut the cold weather fuel payments and then, in the next breath, promised another 600 million of your tax pounds to Zelensky's Ukraine for the war Russia won months, if not years ago, in addition to the billions promised forever. Since when did UK puppeticians get to promise anything forever, far less our tax as yet unharvested? And then it's all followed up with news of the freebies, fancy new knickers for El Presidente of our banana republic. This is not human beings being caught out. This is the anti-humans broadcasting that while they matter and deserve nice things for free, you don't matter. Free clothes and assorted baubles are the least of it. When it comes to having our noses rubbed in it, the discarding of democracy, the censorship of dissent, the jailing of people with opinions that run counter to those of the powerful, things like that matter rather more. A regular guest on this show is Colonel Douglas Macgregor, war veteran, military analyst and sometime advisor to the Trump White House. This week, in conversation elsewhere about the war in Ukraine and how it's being pushed by Britain ever closer to global thermonuclear war, he referred to, quote, "This man Starmer, who is at war with his own population, locking people up, punishing his own people. At the same time, he is a strident advocate for war with Russia," end quote. I listen to the Colonel and remind myself he's a war-hardened man, a White House advisor, a senior military analyst, born and raised by our ally, and this is how he assesses the British Prime Minister. He also said of Starmer, quote, "He doesn't seem to understand how vulnerable Britain and NATO is to Russian weapons and capabilities. He's capable of dragging us into something that we ultimately don't want, which is an open war between the US and Russia," close quote. Zelensky is no longer the legitimate leader of Ukraine. He has run out the clock on his presidency, ruling by fiat. Still, we are told this war is about defending democracy. It's never been that. By now, Zelensky has the Orthodox clergy in his sights as conscripts for the front line that has already consumed hundreds of thousands of men and boys. Come one, come all. This is the war our government seeks to promote. This is the war for which our government has pushed for the Ukrainians to have permission to use British-made long-range weapons against targets inside Russia. Those weapons can only be used effectively if the US and NATO let Ukraine use US satellites for getting them on target, a move Putin has long since described as a red line, the other side of which lies war between Britain, the US, NATO and Russia, a nuclear superpower. I grew up in a world where nuclear war was to be avoided at all costs for the sake of the billions who would be incinerated in such a conflict. I genuinely believe the hawks on both sides of the Atlantic are convinced nuclear war is not just survivable, but winnable. Let's at least give it a try, they seem to say. It's only Russia. They must be insane. But we, the people, are on our own in the middle of it all, while puppeticians serving the war machine play chicken with a nuclear superpower. As Sarah Connor says in Terminator 2, anybody not wearing 2 million sunblock is going to have a real bad day. Don't be too alarmed though. Whatever the fear porn says, those lining their pockets and filling their wardrobes with the latest threads, no nuclear war will never happen. After all this effort, the totalitarians have no intention of unleashing anything, real viruses or nuclear weapons that might spoil their day. That said, it's becoming abundantly clear from Westminster on down, from Washington on down, that the people are of no account in the pursuit of profit and power. Britain's plight under this Labour government, the party most committed to the suicide note that is the Green Agenda, Dafty Ed Miliband and so on, is only a part of a wider declaration of war by the powerful against the people. They won't risk the mushroom clouds. Why ruin the beaches and the manicured lawns inside the gated communities when, in this new dawn, all it takes is the detonation of the pagers in the pockets of your enemies? Why send an ICBM to ruin the skyline when you can send a personalised exploding message instead? If a few cars crash, or a few more kids die, or are blinded, who cares? Who cares about somebody else's kids far away? In the US, Robert Kennedy Jr., scion of the Democratic Party, has repeatedly lamented what has become of that particular entity, that which in his father's day, in his uncle's day, was the party of peace, the party of free speech, the party of freedom, full stop, the party vowed to protect the little guy from big business. He now blasts as the party of warmongers, the party of censorship, the party of surveillance. There you have it. The US Democrats are anti-democratic. The British Prime Minister is at war with his own people, throwing them in jail for protesting him and his policies. Our noses are rubbed in it over and over. Former Prime Minister Tony Blair was on radio this week. That man just refuses to go away. He made his own millions, tens of millions, hundreds, who knows, off the back of his betrayal of Britain and the British. And while he could just leave us all alone after the harm done, he follows us around like a bad smell attached to us by an invisible rubber band. He was actually pontificating about misinformation, the perils of. He had a line about how misinformation, quote, by misinformation, people can provoke hostility and hatred. And he also said, one thing I've learned over time is don't get involved in American politics. I find the brass nakedness of this, the attempts at humour, impossible to stomach. This from the Prime Minister of the sexed-up dossier about Iraqi weapons of mass destruction that didn't exist, that he knew didn't exist. Talk about misinformation. The Prime Minister who thereby lied us into an illegal war in Iraq alongside the US. Don't get involved in US politics, he says. Misinformation can provoke hostility. You mean like pushing fictional propaganda to trigger an illegal war that has left 1 million dead, women and children among them, permanently destabilised an entire region? That kind of hostility. And again, I say there's no hubris here, no accident, no self-delusion even. This is deliberate, calculated, straight up rubbing our noses in it. Do as I say and not as I do. I'm rich and getting richer, you're poor and getting poorer. I've said it before and I'll say it again that the social contract between us and them is utterly broken and that they broke it. Not by accident, but by malice aforethought. In the US, the plight of the town of Springfield, Ohio is a parable for the betrayal of the people that has been perpetrated by the powerful, not just here, but all over. Half a lifetime ago, it was hailed among America's dream cities with a thriving middle class, an enduring manufacturing base. Then came NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, and so abandonment for places like Springfield. Like so many towns and cities besides, Springfield has been deindustrialised, its middle class eviscerated, immiserated. In countless places like Springfield, the federal government effectively saw to it the industries were taken away, the middle class were impoverished, people abandoned to opioid and fentanyl addiction, their kids drawn into foreign wars. In just 3 years in Springfield, a town of 60,000 has been swamped by 20,000 refugees from the US-driven chaos, decades in the making, in Haiti. The townspeople were effectively told, figure it out. And there you have it. Here's the thing. I say all across the West, the social contract has been utterly destroyed by the powerful. Still, taxes, increasingly ruinous taxes, are hoovered up from people. It's my opinion that taxes now are no more and no less than the collection of money with menaces, the forced funding of organised crime. Anyone who thinks their road tax goes to maintain the roads or that their income tax goes to build hospitals is dreaming. I say your taxes are collected now for one reason and one reason only, so that you don't have that money. It's about immiseration and nothing more. It comes down to warmongers and money, and in pursuit of every last cent, every last penny, the ultimate enemy is us. Just because I'm paranoid doesn't mean they're not out to get you.